Hello, everybody. My name is Anat Katz, and I head the Government of Israel Economic Mission based in New York. It's a great pleasure to be opening this webinar on impact investing in Israel. I would like to thank everybody for making time and joining us today. We have a very robust yet short program that I know everybody is going to enjoy. Before we start, I just want to thank all the parties to this program, everybody that is contributing to this program and the partners that helped organize this. So MetroCap partners, Ronald Hans, Serona Ventures, Alana Rubin, and obviously the one and only Patricia Heaton that we'll be very happy to host and have during this webinar later today and hear from, as well as the Israeli funds that will be featured here today. So Tech Shield by Serona Partners, Iron Nation, and Geshem Impact, and of course to say a big thank you to Johnny Kaplan from Tech Talk, who is our panel moderator. So I think that the discussion today is really to share more information about where Israel is, a little bit from an economic perspective, and also to share some opportunities for everybody on the call, and potentially also to pass this information forward to other friends and colleagues about investment opportunities. In order to kind of kickstart this discussion, I want to share a little bit from like a high level perspective, what really is going on in Israel economically, because I think that when investing, it's not just the tech and innovation itself, but also the general environment that obviously matter. So I will just take a moment to share my screen. Just um, I'm sorry, this is taking a little bit longer. Okay. So I hope everybody can see the presentation. And let's just take a few moments and talk a little bit about the Israeli economy. So I think that the first thing that I want to say is just to frame how important the high-tech sector is to the Israeli economy. And this is data that I'm sure that many of you know, or at least know in part. These are figures of 2023. Basically, in high-tech employs about 16% of our workforce. It contributes to 1/3 of income tax. So clearly a very, very important sector for Israel. The vast majority of exports are actually high-tech related, more than half. It contributes to 17% of Israel's GDP created by high-tech, and is responsible for over 40% of our GDP growth. So this is why when we talk about the Israeli economy, clearly there are other avenues and other areas that we need to take a look at. But again, high-tech is very, very clearly key to Israel's economy. And if we're talking about high tech and R&D, again, just to signify again how important that is, what we can see in the slide is the percentage to the left, the percentage of R&D investments of GDP in Israel. And as you can see, Israel is all the way to the left, leading the chart. Another important or interesting element in that is really the division between the government investment and private sector investment. And I think that, as you can see, overwhelmingly, the R&D investment in Israel is a private one and less so a government one. And I can also add to that the fact that the vast majority of funding actually comes from overseas. And what it means is that Israel's economy is, in fact, very, very attractive for this type of money, for this type of funding. The government contributes significantly a low amount, and the private sector that basically identifies the opportunity comes in and participates in a very big way. And this is why today's webinar matters. In terms of employees, so again, these are figures from 2020, and you saw the updated figures because we have a little bit over 9.5% of the workforce that today we're at about 16%. But as you can see, it is very significant in Israel's economy, even if you look at it from like a comparative perspective, if you compare it to other countries. So where were we just prior to the war? So if you look at the basically at the left hand side, our GDP was growing well, on trajectory. So we were doing well. The growth was sound and stable. In terms of unemployment, which is it's the middle chart, unemployment rate, which is the orange color figure, you can see that just before the war, September of 2023, it was very low, 2.9. And if you look, if you look at the public debt, figures, so you can see that we have been going down gradually and constantly. There was a bit of a hike, but then as you can see, the tendency was to kind of diminish that as percent of GDP. So indicators were very sound and good indicators. In terms of inflation, this is where you can see again a comparative view. Israel is the green line, and Israel, I'm sorry, is the blue line. The US is the green line, and the OECD median is the kind of solid red line. So you can see that there's the same tendency in all three. And Israel was actually doing very well also from a comparative perspective. Inflation was also mitigated. So again, macro indicators were very good indicators just before the war. And then let's talk a little bit about the impact that the war had made. So this is, I think, maybe like one of the most significant slides, that we can see. And I think that this slide tells the story of the Israeli economy by large without going into too many figures and numbers. This is the GDP growth. And what you can see in the red bars, every time that there is a red bar, this is the impact of a security-related situation. And I think that what we can say by large, on this is obviously when there's a security risk or a security operation, or a little bit more than that, needless to say that the economy responds. It goes, it's clear. At the same time, I think that another thing that is clear is that the Israeli economy is very resilient. It tends to bounce back very, very quickly, and we see this as a systematic pattern. What happened during this war, you can see all the way to the right, this is the dip of the swords of iron war. So this is a significant dip. And as you can see in annual in annual terms, it's a dip of about 20%. So definitely a significant one. And we all know that this war in Gaza is definitely a very significant event for Israel and even beyond Israel. But what does it mean, since? So this is the last quarter of 2023, and kind of where are we in different parameters or different areas? I think that a general statement that we can kind of say the economy is first and foremost, it's functioning. And in terms of economic activity internally, you can see that it bounced back very clearly, as indicated by basically the use of credit cards. So in times of crisis and emergency, people tend to spend less, whereas when things kind of start moving back to normal, whichever kind of new normal that might be, you can see a rebound in that. So to the left, you can see basically the overall total credit card expenditure. You can see the dip as soon as the war started, and then you can see a gradual hike, even at certain points to levels that were beyond what we had before the war. And then you can see breakdowns, grocery chains. So this is food. Food tends to be very, very stable. And this is something that we're seeing here. And in other areas, you can see a dip as soon as the war broke, but then how it very, very quickly rebounds. So what we're seeing is actually a healthy economy that is functioning. People are spending money. There's a lot of economic activity. Unemployment. I think that there was a lot of discussion, especially as soon as the war broke, about the employees, the workers. Are they there, or have they gone to reservists, and what does that mean, for Israel? So as you can see, the figure for September, all the way to the left, this is 3.4. A very good figure, very low unemployment rate. Needless to say, October was a very challenging month in Israel, and everybody that has been following or was in Israel felt this. So you can see a hike in what you would say is either unemployment or any other type of absenteeism. But you can see that this is coming down very, very quickly in November and December and January. And basically where we are now is not very far from the original place that we started in September. It's still a little bit higher. We do still have soldiers in reservists. We do have some absenteeism that is caused by other economic reasons, but altogether, as you can see, number one, the tendency and also the level that is pretty similar to what we had prior to the war, meaning most employees are actually at work. I think another kind of complementing figure, to the absenteeism or the unemployment is really the average wages. And you can see that there's a constant rise in the average wage, including now. So there was a small dip, soon after the war, but you can see that the tendency again is rising, which means that the Israeli economy is yet seeking employees, because if there's abundance of employees and not enough work, people are seeking work, the salary goes down, and what we're seeing is the exact opposite. So the salary is going up, yet another testament, to a strong economic activity in Israel. And almost finally, if we look at specifically the indexes that are relevant to the high-tech sector, so the revenue index in high-tech, you can see that this is the chart all the way to the left, the blue line. You can see that as soon as the war started, there was a dip, but very, very quick recovery to higher levels than before. Exports, while a little bit lower than before, are still running very high. And employment in the high-tech sector, which is something that I touched on, again, basically remains at around the same level. So I think that all these things basically show a very strong economy, a very strong high-tech sector. And I think with a lot of, so workforce is there, innovation is still there. We did see also some recovery or significant recovery actually in early stage investment in the first quarter of 2024. All that, I just want to be very kind of open and real. All that doesn't come to say that Israel's economy does not have any issues or challenges. Needless to say that we are in very, very, very challenging times, today. People who follow, we all know that there's going to be a surge in the defense and security budget, and the dip in the budget is going to be much more significant. So it's not that Israel is without challenges. I think that what I'm trying to say over here is that as we actually look not at investing at the Israeli economy as a whole, but specifically in the high-tech sector, all the indicators are showing that the high-tech sector remains very, very strong, meaning that an investment in Israeli tech today is a sound and strong investment. And since this is really the topic of the webinar, and you're going to hear about the different tools, that basically are curated to address some of the needs, and also, by the way, leverage some of the government funding that has been allocated towards this particular time. I think that overall, this is a great opportunity to actually invest in Israel and in Israel tech today. So with that, I end my presentation. I would like to thank again everybody for coming and for joining, and I would like to invite Patricia Hitton to say a few words. So thank you everybody, and I hope we have a great rest of the webinar.
Hey everyone, I'm Patricia Heaton. As you've heard, I'm an actress, but I am also the founder of O7C, the October 7 Coalition. It's a group of Christians who are visibly and vocally united to support the Jewish people, Israel's right to exist, and to fight anti-Semitism. What I found on October 7th was a lack of response, in my opinion, from churches, Christians, and Americans in general, after an initial kind of flurry of response to that horrific event. I didn't see anything else happening, and I was quite horrified by it. And so Elizabeth Doros, my partner, and I gathered Christians together. We started reaching out to pastors. We had a lunch for 80 pastors. We then reached out with 150 Christian leaders and pastors in Nashville to our Jewish community here to let them know that we wanted to be of service in this time of need. We did personal outreach to rabbis and leaders. We supported a lot of events in Nashville, Women's Rally. We were the only people to fund and screen the Hamas body cam footage here in Nashville, along with the support of the Israeli consulate in Atlanta. We hosted an ambassador breakfast with Ambassador Herzog for Christian leaders. We done live church podcasts to raise money for hostage families. And we culminated in a You Are Not Alone dinner with rabbis, Jewish Federation, Christian leaders of 250 joined us together to come and just be in fellowship. We have also made presentations in Miami, Florida. I've spoken in Denver for the IAC. We sponsor many activities with the Jewish Federation. And what we're trying to do is engage Christians in cities and then also on social media, which is very important to speak up, because there are many more of us than there are of the other side. But people are struggling to find a way to voice their support. And so O7C is here to help voice the support for the Jewish people and for Israel and to fight anti-Semitism. And some of the important things we are hoping to do once we can scale up and have a proper staffing up is to go into college campuses. This is where a lot of this BDS movement, which is trying to shut down technology and any businesses in Israel. This is where a lot of this is coming from. And it's important, as you saw the protestations that were there. I went to Columbia University myself and spoke outside the gates with the free hostage families. What's important is to have O7Cs on campuses all over the country, working with the Hillels, to have a presence, a strong and vocal presence on campuses to fight against this attack on Israel. We also need our Christians in all our cities to know what's going on in council meetings, where they're trying to put ceasefire, pass ceasefire, what do you host, proclamations. We need more Christians showing up to voice their opinion on our support for Israel. So what we're trying to do here is get the American people to understand the importance of Israel, the importance of investment in Israel, the importance of supporting the Jewish people. And that starts at the grass level in each community. And then after that, we can help people find their ways to speak out to their representatives. Let me give you an example. There was an Israeli conference here this week, and a pro-Hamas group, By Any Means Necessary, called the hotel where the conference was supposed to take place and got the hotel to shut it down because of intimidation. This is happening in every city, and a city like Nashville, which is, and a state like Tennessee, very pro-Israel. But these people are very organized, they're very vocal, and they're very, very aggressive. And in O7C, we want to be that organization that is mobilizing Christians and non-Christians, Americans who understand the importance of Israel, who understand the importance of supporting that economy and supporting the country. And it starts here. The other very important thing that we're launching is social media, and we need to be hiring a social media director to combat the social media propaganda that's coming out and influencing our young people. And we're really losing that war right now. And so it's very important to get these messages across about the importance of Israel, about the technology. We need to do it and reach out to my audience about the importance of supporting Israel. So it seems maybe odd that I'm on this call, but I believe that we need to get the support of the American people to be louder and to give them opportunities to be visibly supportive so that our representatives will understand where we want our monies to go and that we want to continue to support Israel. So we're currently raising funds to hire a social media director, a program director, an assistant. Right now it's Elizabeth and I doing everything, and we've accomplished quite a bit, and we have a lot going forward. In Los Angeles, our Hollywood community has been very quiet, if not downright oppositional to Israel. And so I'm attending next week, flying out to attend an event at Bel Air Church with Nova survivors. I'm going to a Hollywood event at CAA, the talent agency, with the Creative Coalition for Peace to discuss those ideas. And so we're always also trying to work in Los Angeles. That's our next launch site, hopefully, to keep bringing the message on social media and through local activities for support of Israel. So that's how we relate in this space, which might not seem like a match, but it's very important to get your average American on board and get them vocal about supporting Israel and give them the avenues to show that support. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Patricia. Appreciate that. I myself have spent some time on college campuses throughout the country over the last 6 weeks, and really engaging students and really getting a firsthand understanding of what's been going on, as you said, most importantly on campus, because this is much of the foundation of what the disruption is going on across, particularly the United States. So firstly, I wanted to welcome everyone. As Anat and Patricia so kindly did. My name is Ronald Hans. I'm the founder of MetroCap Partners based in New York City. Today, we are joined by the three premier impact funds that have been founded in Israel in a post-October 7th environment, in which Patricia was just speaking about. Anat touched on the importance and the outlook for the Israeli economy and opportunities to invest. So, the impact funds that have been founded in Israel and the three premier funds that will be represented today, have taken a tremendous amount of responsibility on their shoulders. They'll explain to you, they'll be given the opportunity to give a little introduction to their funds. Our moderator, Johnny Kaplan, the CEO of Tech Talk Media, will take us through this next part of the panel. But I just wanted to take a short opportunity to introduce Tech Shield, which was founded by Serona Partners. We have today with us Tut Chani, who is the co-founding partner and the general partner of Tech Shield. We're also joined by Iron Nation, and we're happy to have Mr. Gil Friedlander with us, who's a general partner and founder of the fund. And there's obviously other funds involved in Iron Nation, which Gil will touch on. And we're honored to have Mr. Steven Shapiro joining us today from the Geshem Fund, which is a very interesting consortium of incubators across Israel focused mainly on life sciences, innovation across earth science, as well as medical and life. So we're having a kind of a broad spectrum today across the technology spectrum, which is very representative of what's going on in Israel today. And I'm just going to hand it over to Johnny Kaplan now to start us on the panel discussion. After that, we'll have a short Q&A. If people would like to, stick around, please take the opportunity to put your questions now, into the chat, and we'll curate those for Johnny as we close down, hopefully on time, somewhere around 12:40. But again, I wanted to thank Anat and the Israeli mission and the staff, as well as Patricia, for joining today with a very important message. I'll hand it over to Johnny. And again, thank you for everyone for making time.
Thanks so much, Ronald. Hi there, I'm Johnny Kaplan. I'm the CEO and founder of Tech Talk Media. You may know us for our show Tech Talk, a multi-award winning show on Israeli technology that put the startup nation in over 100 countries, with Amazon Prime and Discovery and Apple. Many other countries use technology and innovation as a way to cross borders and bridge the gap, which was very successful for us. I'm very happy to be here. I was glad to hear those two opening speakers. I'm not talking about the resilience of the Israeli economy, to show that how important it is that we keep pushing forwards, but how after those dips, those negative dips, the economy has always bounced back. And I think that's the important thing to note there. So very happy to be here and to host this panel. I'll be starting with questions related to the thesis of the three funds. So you can all understand exactly where you'd be principally deploying capital across Israeli companies in terms of stage and sector. And I guess we'll be giving a couple of minutes to each of the funds initially to really tell us what they're about and their elevator pitch. So if I could start with Tut Shani from TechShield, you tell us very quickly a little bit about TechShield.
Sure. Thank you very much, and hello, everyone. Pleasure to meet you. So I'm a managing partner and founding managing partner at a firm called Sarona Ventures, which is essentially an evolution of the single family office of the Bouaziz family, which are, amongst others, the founders of Deal, which is a $12 billion company today, one of the fastest growing company in actually history of tech. So that's where we originated from. Today, Sarona is a VC fund and a global tech ecosystem, probably one of the most international funds that is based in Israel, considering our global network and the reach we provide to companies. And within our core values, we are a very, very Zionistic organization. And the main reason why we started off is in order to strengthen the economy of Israel and grow larger, more solid companies rather than exits from the state of Israel. And therefore, when October 7th took place, we really didn't feel like we can continue business as usual. And we thought we need to launch something that would be geared towards the local economy. And therefore, we launched TechShield, which is a reverse fund. Basically, instead of raising the money first and then going to find the target companies, we thought that what really needs to happen at that point in time is to increase the confidence level of global investors who likes the Israeli tech ecosystem, knows how strong it is, but understandably are kind of afraid to gear their money into a profit investment, which is not a philanthropy or a donation, because it's a war zone. I mean, after all, it's scary. And therefore, we created a vehicle that creates much more transparency. Essentially, we went out and first we chose the companies, and only then we're going to investors presenting the opportunity. I created a few slides that I can share later on as a link here on the chat. So each of you that is interested can log in and have a look. We are looking at approximately $5 million fund, which we have 2.2 raised already, 200K above our first closing target. So that's great. And we're probably do a second closing at about $3 million, likely at the end of June. The minimum investment size we've designed for this is intentionally low. So it's $50,000 because it was very important for us to enable almost every individual who feels that they want to do more for the country to actually be able to do that. So I think that's up to here. I'll share the presentation here on the link, and very happy to answer any questions. And thank you again for all of you, being here, and Patricia for your time and insights and support. I mean, really amazing to see, and Ronald for supporting organizing this. So thank you, everyone, and let's team up to help the country.
Thank you so much, too. That was lovely. And please don't go anywhere. We're not finished yet. We're going to keep talking, and there'll be some questions at the end, hopefully, from the panel to interact with the panel as well. So, Stephen Shapiro, could you tell us a little bit about Geshem Impact, your elevator pitch and your thesis?
Hi, I'm Steve Shapiro. I live in Bethesda, Maryland. 10 years ago, I co-founded eHealth Ventures, which is an Israeli venture fund. We also have a license with the government of Israel, something called the Israel Innovation Authority, to run an incubator in Israel. We are a global fund now with strategic partners like Maccabi Healthcare, Mayo Clinic, Amgen, and others in Europe. And when the war broke out, we said, wow, we have to do something about it. But I want to back up for a second and tell you what the incubator program is in Israel. I think it's important. When there was a large Russian immigration to Israel, there were a lot of smart, talented people coming in, and the government says, how can I best utilize this talent? Hence, they started an incubator program to use them to start up companies. And today, it's grown so much that the economy is very dependent, as not mentioned, of what Israel tech scene. A lot of that tech scene comes from the birth of the incubators. And hundreds and hundreds of companies are resulted. There's been, I won't go into the details of it. And it's a 2-year program when a company enters the incubator. And a lot of the funding comes from the Israel Innovation Authority. And today there are about 20 of those incubators. So here we are, an incubator. We're faced with a very unique situation, October 7th, and we realized every incubator is going to go through and suffer and need to do something to help these early stage companies. So we reached out, and today 11 incubators and the Israel Innovation Authority joined to form the Geshem Fund. And the idea behind the Geshem Fund is we will pick the best of the best of the incubators, and we will invest. Our goal is 2 companies from each incubator. The incubator looks at it, and we also have the Israel Innovation Authority look at it, because we want to get non-dilutive funds from the Innovation Authority plus the incubator, and Geshem will match it. So we estimate we'll put in $500,000 for each company, and it'll be matched with another $500,000. And so the fund, we targeted $10 million for the fund. And right now we have commitments for over 15 million for the fund. So we're going to enlarge it a little. We've not had our first close. We're about to do it. So if anybody is interested, I put my contact information. It's $100,000 minimum to invest in the fund. Thank you. And it's a great program, and I appreciate, not putting all of this together. Thank you.
Wonderful, Stephen. Thank you. Very clear. Great initiative, and wishing you lots of success with that. Sounds wonderful. So Gil Freelander from Iron Nation, can you tell us a little bit about the fund and your thesis, please?
Perfect. Thank you, Johnny. So we are 3 co-founders. We're actually serial entrepreneurs, and 3 days following October 7, we decided to put our life on hold and dedicate on a pro bono basis to open a new fund that supports great Israeli companies. Iron Nation is an ecosystem-wide fund. So we brought together the best VCs, the best talent in US and in Israel coming together. We have about 40 VCs that are contributing their time. Everyone is doing it pro bono, 100 professionals. And this fund, from ideation to first closing, took us 9 weeks. So 9 weeks later, we closed the first fund and made the first investments. I'm happy to share that we surpassed $20 million of investment in Iron Nation. As Anat mentioned before, we are leveraging non-dilutive funding that is coming from the Israeli Innovation Authority, so that almost doubles. So we can have now $40 million to invest into great Israeli startups and make a significant impact. We've made to date already 12 investments in great Israeli startups. We're generalists, so it's across all sectors. Very happy to share that more than half of our founders are female founders, so very strong diversity here. We received over 800 applications for funding, which on one hand shows the magnitude of the challenge that Israel is facing young startups, seed and round A companies. On the other side, if we're going to make around 20 or 25 investment decisions out of 800 companies, these are going to be best in category, best in class companies. IRONation is not a philanthropy. IRONation is for profit. And we believe that people that will invest in IRONation will have a very nice returns, but it's combining doing good and doing well. So thank you, Johnny.
Thanks so much, Gil. Just last question. What's your minimum check size, please?
Our minimum check size is $250,000.
Perfect. I'm just making notes as well to give everybody a recap as well. So everything you're giving me, I hope that I'll be able to give back to the audience and summarize, and I'll check with you if I'm right when we do that. So, okay. So with respect to the fund structure and the positioning of LPs, like, could you please share your firm's onboarding process for LPs and private investors? So back to Toot, please, if you could let us know your onboarding process.
Very smooth. Since we target small investors, relatively smaller size investors, we have an admin, a dedicated admin that we partnered with, which on a day-to-day basis is one of the largest alternative investment platform in Israel. So they are the ones handling all the onboarding, KYC, and so on. The fund is Israeli registered because we felt like that would be the most appropriate thing for the cause. And it is a fund with ruling, meaning that every investor that invests will only pay taxes in their home tax country.
Excellent. Very clear. Thank you. Stephen.
Talk about the onboarding. So we have 3 managers, Tom Sudo in Cleveland, Ohio, myself, and we have a manager representing all of the incubators. And so part of our role is to have communications with potential investors. We vet them as well as they vet us. We know through my experience with EL Ventures and others, full disclosure is absolutely essential. We want to be transparent with all of our, investors and involve them in the process. And we've had great success in our existing fund by actually helping them in the sales process and helping, like the Mayo Clinic has done incredible amounts of work for us and other partners. So when, not only do we communicate on a quarterly basis with our investors, but we also ask them for help as appropriate portfolio companies where they can use their leverage and their contacts to help commercialize.
Makes sense. Thanks so much. Gil.
So very similar to what Toot described, domiciled in Israel, we have over 70 limited partners, 70 investors that already onboarded. Again, everyone volunteers their time. So we're working with Meitar, which is one of the top legal firms, EY, Services is our fund operations. I would say that over 70% of our investors are coming from North America, US, and Canada. So we are very fluent and know how to work with North American investors.
Perfect. And just to make the point here, I mean, I think everybody's quite aware, but these are experienced fund managers. This is not their first rodeo by any shape or form. And, the reason we're talking about new funds and new raises is because of the recent, October the 7th catastrophe and the need for everybody to step up the pace and do what they can. So a lot of people here offering their time philanthropically or on an impact basis, really quite amazing. So in terms of capital deployment, could you give us a very, very condensed version of your due diligence process, what you're looking for in the company, how you assess it, just to give the investors on the call here some idea in a very short sentence, what you're looking for, how you assess them. I'm not asking you to do a detailed due diligence process, which we expect is much more extended than what you're going to say now. So back to Toot, if that's okay.
So the way we conducted it, since we decided to bring the companies first and only then go and raise the capital from investors in order to provide confidence, transparency, a more conservative investment structure. So essentially in December, we launched a call for application, and we received approximately 450 companies that have applied. We decided, since many of the other funds, these two amazing ones that are here with us today, but then also there are about 2 additional emergency funds that are out there, most of them decided to focus on small pre-seed and short runway companies. Our choice was to actually focus on growing companies that already have customers that they're serving. They already raised money from VCs, because we felt that the war has been impacting them the most in terms of serving customers, the potential damage of their brand, the potential damage of revenues, employees that have gone to reserves, and so on. And on the same time, their bounce back potential would be the quickest, because they are already solid in size and they have market fit and so on. So we decided to strengthen the strong rather than to save the weak. So our criteria was at least 3 paying customers, at least 1 equity round already raised from another VC. So we have, out of 6 companies that we pre-selected, we have 2 that are post-A and 4 that are post-seed, already raised from very notable funds, including Pitango and Stage One and Disruptive and Vertex and other very successful Israeli funds. And then we screened through all these 400 companies. We chose 6 after a very rigorous diligence process. And we grouped them together, launching a reverse fund vehicle. So that was the process for us. We did all of that in about a month and a half, and started raising the fund in beginning of February with pre-selected 6 companies in hand. That's us.
Wonderful. I think everybody's really showing their true colors since October the 7th hit. So really wonderful work. Keep up the good work. Stephen, yes, your due diligence process, please, in a nutshell.
Sure. So we're very unique because we have 11 incubators that are our partners. In the incubator program, a company is with them for 2 years, where they provide support, facilities, everything. They know the companies very well, more than a week or a month of due diligence would do. So we have over 200 member portfolio companies in our incubators represent. Each incubator will nominate 2 companies that they know well. They do the due diligence. In addition, we're requiring the Israel Innovation Authority invest. So they do their separate due diligence. So we have those 2 eyes, and then we review the process. The Geshem Fund itself, since we're not getting any fees, very low overhead, we don't do the due diligence. We validate what the incubator has done in the Israel Innovation Authority. And we cover all sectors, our incubators and technology, as was mentioned earlier. I don't need to go into that. So that's it in a nutshell.
Perfect. Very clear. Thank you. Gil.
So as I mentioned before, to digest 800 applications in such a short term, it's quite challenging. And the way we do it is we have almost 40 VCs that are supporting us in this process. So for instance, we have life science companies. We have the 4 leading VCs in Israel meeting every few weeks, looking at the deal flow, providing us recommendations, which companies to start a due diligence process. Our key criteria in the due diligence process: are we convinced that within a year time, we actually set October 7th, 2024 as a date, these companies will raise their next round independently. So we are very concerned not to make a bridge to nowhere. As Tut said, we do not want to invest in companies that will not be successful. If we are convinced that these companies are good companies and will raise their next round independently within a year time, we will invest in these companies.
Fabulous. I think that's very, very clear, and I think that's the right approach and why everybody's here. I think the way to do it is in an established environment. If we do anything new, then the risk is considerably higher, and I think you're all very astute to do that. It makes a lot of sense. You guys know what you're doing. So, okay. So last really question before we head to a Q&A from the audience. Tell me, how does your fund ensure transparency and security for its investors, especially in the obviously the current challenging environment? As you know, experienced operators, please share your insight in terms of the LP communication. So back to Toot, please.
Maybe I can go last on that one since we have a different transparency format.
No problem at all. Okay, Stephen?
Sure. I mean, as all of us, you know, transparency is important. You know, it's a regulated field, you know, and so we have to be open. I don't think the war presents any different challenges than was done before. I mean, I just think you follow your game plan, you know, that we've done for 10 years. And by, you know, being open, you know, not hiding things. One thing that we did when the October 7th happened, we had an open forum with all of our investors in eHealth Ventures to address any concerns and many one-on-one meetings. And I think that is the best way to move forward is to have that open door, you know, with concerns and be transparent. But I don't think we do anything different because of the current situation than we would normally do.
Apart from strive harder, just give us more passion to strive harder. But I agree with you, and I think that's evident in Anut's figures that she showed us before, that really sticking our ground, you know, see it through the end and come around the corner through the resilience, the resilience that we see so much of it in Israel. Gil?
So I agree with Stephen. We're very similar. You know, we did not invented any transparency procedures as part of these new funds. We are using best practices, best teams. But I would say that we reverse it. It's not transparency. The 70 LPs that joined us are part of our family, are part of our community. And it's not just that we're feeding them information. We are working with them. We have several examples of investors in Ira Nation that we presented some of the companies. They have expertise in that field. Some of them co-invested directly in these startups because they had interest. We have a few examples of our investors taking our company to the US market. We have an amazing company called Algene in the textile field. We have a great investor, third generation, in the Schmate business and textile in North America. And he's bringing this company now to the biggest brand names. He's doing it financially, but he's doing it as well because his heart is there. So, you know, he's so happy he has now an excuse twice a year to come to Israel and meet this company and support this company. And we are really building bi-directional connections and a real community here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gil. Toot, you are up. Last but not least.
Thank you. First of all, echoing everything Gil just mentioned on the community side and ecosystem side, I think, you know, it goes without saying, since most of the investors that are investing in any of our funds are strong enthusiasts of supporting Israel. So being a community and supporting and co-investing directly in companies, I think really goes without saying. In terms of transparency model and reporting for TechShield, we structured this as a reverse fund, meaning investors know prior to their investments exactly where their money will be deployed, to the extent of knowing how much would be deployed in each of those companies, seeing the companies in advance, knowing who they are, who are their customers, the industry that they act in, what's their revenues, what's their growth. So given this transparency, we also had to go an extra mile in the quality of the companies, because if you showcase your diamonds, they need to really shine. And that's what we did. And the reverse fund also means that we basically raise money for the first deployment. And then every follow-on round, each investor has the opportunity to decide if they want to top up based on the follow-up of the specific company. So the level of transparency and control that our investors receive is really extraordinary. And I think unlike any regular fund that is out there, And other than that, we obviously, provide regular reporting, which is a quarterly update on all the status of the company, regular updates on anything special that happens, and annual audits, and everything that a fund is required to provide.
Really nice. Last but not least, as I said, excellent, very, very innovative. Okay, look, so I'm gonna very quickly in a minute summarize what I see as the parameters for each of these funds to give you a clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, any of the panel. Firstly, I think these are all three very established players in the market doing it for the right reasons and set up to a very high level. So in terms of credibility, reputation, security, and so on, I don't see any difference between all of them, very reputable. I think that TechShield obviously has a 50K check size. So depending on where you're at with it, if that's your level, it might be easy for you to get in there. TechShield has a very innovative model of allowing you to choose the companies prior to the investment, where the money's actually going, putting the money into SPVs, slightly different than a standard fund. If that's what floats your boat, you might have a little bit more interaction there, which is very cool, and the reverse funds and so on that Tu just talked about. Geshem is the 100K mark. Geshem is partnered with the Innovation Authority, who I know very well. Many of our companies featured on Tech Talk were funded by the Innovation Authority. They're a great pivot for Israeli business and technology, especially going out of Israel. Iron Nation, also very, very established, has 70 venture funds that are partners, highly established, Maverick, Silvertech, Yaron Carney, people that you would know already, that to a very high level. And their check size is 250 at a minimum. So knowing where your parameters are at, depending on what your check size is, if you can handle all, these are all three very interesting funds to look at, I would say. Okay, so moving along, I know we're a tiny bit over time by a few minutes, so we'll try to move along quickly, not to keep everybody up according to their appointments for the day. And feel free, anybody there, to correct me. Did I say anything wrong in terms of the description of the funds?
No,
Yeah.
I would add we have 11 incubators,
Sorry, that's what I meant to say that, correct. And
Right.
11 incubators, which are all the largest in Israel that are incubating these companies. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Absolutely.
Fine.
So the first question, if I could ask Ilan Slasky to unmic and ask your question to Gil of Iron Nation, please.
Thank you all for putting this on today, and it's great to hear the perspectives. I'm just curious to know how you handle potential conflicts of interest between sort of the different members, the LPs, the different funds that are there, as it pertains to any of the investment decisions or things that come through in terms of protecting investments made by a particular fund if they're using this vehicle, or if that's not the approach at all.
So thank you, Ilan. This is a great question. And when you put together an ecosystem fund, you will have inherently conflicts, and we see it from time to time. So we have a very strict and clear policy. If somebody has investment, is involved in that company, he will not take part in the due diligence process. If it's on the investment committee, we see it often. He's excused and does not join that meeting or that section of the meeting where a company that he is invested in. So it's very clear. It's very known for us, and we approach and feel this from time to time and address that in a professional way.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Ilan. Thank you, Gil. Stephen, you have a question that says, does the fund have certain verticals that they are mostly looking at?
Yeah, the majority of our incubators are in health tech, but we also have what we call world tech, which is energy, water, food, even supply chain. And so it's nice that each incubator has their vertical that they specialize in, and they're a leader in and understand it and have the best companies in it. So, and each one would, as I said, have the equal number of investments.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, last but not least, last question of the day. And I implore everybody, if you're not following the panel already, that you should do that now before we finish the call. Obviously, follow Patricia Heaton as well, who's doing a fantastic stuff with a 07C. Is it 07C, Patricia,
No,
or is it 07C?
October 7.
October 7C, that makes sense.
Coalition.org.
Got it. Is it OTC.org or
07C. It's the
07C?
name of our organization. And if you'd like to go to our website, it's October, the number 7, coalition.org.
Perfect. October7coalition.org. Perfect. So the last question, sorry to toot. The audience is asking, what is the advantage of investing in SPVs in the special purpose vehicle? How does that advantage the investor? How does that change the setup?
The investment is done in a regular fund structure. However, instead of putting your money on a management team that maybe has a great track record, I mean, us at Sarona, we've backed 7 unicorn companies in the past, but we felt that even that is not enough in a time of uncertainty like October 7th created. And the aggregation of those pre-selected 6 companies is aggregated in what we call a special purpose vehicle, because it is a fund specifically, designed for this initiative. So I think the biggest advantage is literally that the investor really knows in advance where their money is going. Rather than hoping that the managers would choose right, they can actually look into our data room, look at the companies, we can answer further questions, and then they can make a knowledgeable decision based on actual data of where their money is going to go.
Perfect. Very clear. Thank you so much. So wonderful. Look, thank you to the 3 funds for being here today and showcasing what you're doing. Really, thank you for what you're doing as well. It's imperative at this precarious time in our history and in Israel's history. And yes, the economy's been growing. Yes, the awareness and the usage of Israeli technology has been growing exponentially across the world, but we still face these political and other issues around the world that will prohibit us from moving forward. So it's ever so important that we group together and we support each other very much in this way. So really, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Keep building, keep pushing forwards, keep taking this amazing Israeli innovation across the world and help to pump it out, help to establish the economy in a stronger, more independent and more durable basis, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet for a lot longer to come. So without further ado, I will turn back to Sophie to close out. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you all so much for joining. I know that we went a little bit over time, but it's great to see the interest and, the excitement about all these funds, all the panelists. And of course, thank you so much, Patricia, and our co-organizers, MetroCap, Ron, and Sarona Partners, and Alana, for all that you guys did to help promote this and, come together for these incredible initiatives. We're really excited to highlight everybody, and we will be in touch to share the recording of this session, as well as any slides that we're able to, and information on all the funds that participated, and instructions on how to get in touch. So we look forward to continuing the conversation, and we appreciate everybody's support today and always, in the context of investing in Israel.
Thank
you
you,
all.
everybody.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, everybody.
Thank you very
Keep up
much.
the good work. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.